Hello everyone and welcome to Nomads Programming. I have been preparing the first series for the channel and today's video is the first video of this series. The series will be a full course about coding with HTML if you're a beginner and would like to create your website, or if you already have the basic skills and would like to sharpen your skills a bit more or just revise some of the ideas, then this course is for you. I will be explaining the language and the structure of a web page from the right beginning. It is not required for you to have any coding knowledge to start this course. I will make sure to explain all fundamentals and important ideas that will help you to learn the language easier and faster. If you want to have an idea about the internet in general or its history or even what is web development before you start this course, you can watch my previous videos. I have listed the links for these videos in the description box below. I will also upload a video that will explain web development roadmap for anyone who's interested in this field. This course will cover the following: HTML and CSS introduction, the fundamentals of a web page, HTML files and organization, starting your first web page, text, images and links, CSS fundamentals, CSS files, external, embedded and inline, selectors, styling text, layout, media queries, web fonts and CSS3, lists, forms, multimedia tables, and finally scripts and testing and debugging. Now without further ado, let us begin. What is HTML? HTML began in the early 1990s as a short document that detailed a handful of elements used to build web pages. Many of those elements were for describing web page content such as headings, paragraphs, and lists. HTML version numbers has increased as the language has evolved with the introduction of other elements and adjustments to its rules. The most current version is HTML5. What is CSS? The first version of CSS didn't exist until after HTML had been around for a few years, becoming official in 1996. Like HTML5 and its relationship to earlier versions of HTML, CSS3 is a natural extension of the versions of CSS that preceded it. CSS3 is more powerful than earlier versions of CSS and introduces numerous visual effects. In my previous video, I explained HTML and CSS history and uses. If you haven't watched it yet, you can find the video link in the description box below. First, we need to know that a web page is made out of these main components: text content, which is simply text, letters, and sentences that describe something, like a welcoming paragraph for your website visitors, describing your business, products, blog, or perhaps your portfolio. Anything that describes your content. References to another file. You can load assets from other files to your page, like images, videos, audio, SVG files, CSS and JavaScript files. These assets will add life to your web page and make it interactive. Markup. It is the HTML element that will describe your text content and enables functions and make your references work. Elements and information that are primarily intended for browsers and search engines will not be displayed for visitors. Now here you can see a basic HTML code. The highlighted elements you see will not appear when you view your page on a browser. It will only give meaning to your content. Everything above the body tag is instructional information for browsers and search engines. Each page starts with a document type declaration, which the browser will understand what type of HTML version this document is. Document declaration is an HTML5 declaration. The case of the letters doesn't matter, but it's common to be all uppercase. The bit of code between the declaration until the end of the head is invisible to users, but the title will appear on the very top of the browser window on your browser tab and is typically the default name of a browser bookmark or favorite, and it's a valuable information for search engines. Your page's content which is visible to users, goes between the body opening element and the body closing element, and finally to the closing of the document, which is the end tag that signals the end of the page. The code indentation has absolutely no bearing on whether the code is valid HTML. It also doesn't affect how the content displays in the browser, except for the pre-element, which I will be explaining in another video. It is customary to ident code that is nested in a parent element to make it easier to define the hierarchy of elements. Semantic HTML markup meaning. HTML is very good at including information about the content in a text document. This information is called markup, describing the meaning of the content that is semantics. HTML doesn't define how the content should appear in a browser. It is the role of CSS. But one would ask, then why there are some text appears larger than others or is bold or italicized? Well, the reason is that every web browser has a built-in CSS file that dictates how each HTML element display by default, unless you create your own CSS that will overwrite it all. The default presentation varies slightly from one browser to another, but it's fairly consistent. The content structure and meaning as defined by your HTML will remain the same. Well, that's the end of today's video. Thank you all for watching. Hope to see you all on the next video.